How do you know if you're an introvert who enjoys solitude or someone who is avoiding life and people out of fear and shame as a trauma response? There are 3 ways to tell. The first way is to examine how much do you fantasize. One thing I observed from people with childhood trauma and myself is that if we're avoiding life out of fear instead of enjoyment of solitude, then we probably have very rich and constant fantasies so excessively that they take away our sense of reality. We get showered by the feeling of euphoria from getting our needs met, from grandiose fantasies without actually being out there and risking getting hurt. In this case, we are avoiding life because we need to prevent the cruel reality from shattering our wishful thinking. Probably in reality, we don't get enough attention. We are not that popular. We're not that successful. We're not that, attractive. When we freak out and feel vulnerable and helpless in the outside world, our mind comes up with creative and adaptive plans to make up for what we lack. Some people, they get addicted to love fantasies, just like love addicts, right? So we dream about being the most important person to be chosen by someone, so that the bond is so strong that they could never be abandoned or neglected again. And this is a very typical response if we have attachment trauma, because when we don't get enough nourishment, attention, and stable love from our caregivers, we need those things. And no matter how much money or status, they won't bring us the satisfaction. They won't make up for it. So we need to be obsessed about relationships to gain what we lost. Some people dream to be on top of the world one day and amaze everybody with their glamorous achievements. Somebody like me wants to be pretty and charming so that one day it could shower us with attention to make up for the neglect and disapproval from childhood. Don't get me wrong, everybody dreams, and when you leverage your dream into actionable plan and hard work, it prompts us to realize our self-value. But that's not what I'm talking about here. Being too much in your head is a trauma response. It's a coping mechanism we use to avoid get hurt and disappointed in life for those things we never got. People with childhood trauma, we use it as a sole source of getting our needs met. For example, ever since high school, I started to write those novels, and I get indulged in my inner fantasies about me being someone like Cinderella. I dreamed about being the most popular person in the world so that everybody could keep me in their mind. And the way my posture is always like this when I was outside, ever since high school, because I fear being visible as much as I fear people's judgment and criticism and those stuff. It's like after dinner, I put my chopsticks down and I head back to my room and continue dreaming. So much that I did so poorly in school. I didn't have much friends. I didn't talk to people. I didn't show up at all. And I didn't have future plans for whatever is coming. So I ended up taking a college degree that I had no interest, and I hated it, and I finished it just because I felt like I spent 4 years dreaming and fantasizing. In addition, we tend to have very high degree of rejection sensitivity. And this is a topic I wanted to devote another entire video talking about. Whenever we find people not meeting our needs in our own terms, maybe we have to wait, maybe they are, not as patient or whatever, we take it really harshly as rejection, and we go into those things with expectation to be rejected. So we held these grudges which would easily go explosive at one point. Whenever we're faced with those obstacles and disappointments, even tiny ones, we're like hedgehogs. We would run back to our own bubble and get our emotional needs met in fantasy land. The second way is to search really deep in your soul. If there's envy or even hatred toward people that live and explore their life fully, loud and proud. Jealousy is a common feeling, and everybody would be evoked of jealousy when we see someone living fully and be rewarded with rich experiences that we long for, of course. But for introverts, somehow they make peace with that, because admitting that others has a different way of living doesn't negate their choice of solitude, because in solitude, their needs do get met somehow. But for people with childhood trauma, we tend to suppress the fun and playful inner child that longs for connection and attention and be out there, not in our head. Those buried needs would inevitably get evoked by those people because, of course, people are mirrors, and our emotions tend to be incredibly strong, including intensive jealousy, defensive denial, or even hatred out of nowhere. So now you know why those public figures or celebrities or influencers who live their life very publicly could get attacked for tiny bit reason or even no reason, because it's our own suppressed wishes and needs get evoked, and those anger could be so real and so strong being projected to those people. Underneath our avoidant behaviors, we probably have a lot of insecurities. We struggle socially, and we struggle with the fear of missing out in life. But to make ourselves feel better, we tend to claim that, well, we're introverts. What's wrong being like to be alone? I don't need that many friends anyways. It's relatively easy to live in denial because triggers can be so painful. They throw us off. They make us doubt our life choices, doubt what we really want. It hooks out our fear of missing out. But the empowering thing to do is to claim the jealousy and the strong emotions we have being invoked by others. We learn, we reflect on them, and find out what needs are we suppressing, what things are we in denial for. And when we face it, when we actually learn from it and grow, next time when we face the same triggers, we could be more at peace. And that is the time we know, well, we have outgrown our insecurities and we have been more present for ourselves. The last thing is to check your words, actions, beliefs, and outcomes of your action. Are they in sync? A common struggle that people with complex PTSD face is the urge to catch up, to blend in, to change, and another urge to withdraw, to feel safe. So it shows up like procrastination, making plans and not following through, making up excuses to not try, and having this one foot in, one foot out attitude all the time. Our emotions and feelings change rapidly, and that causes our words and actions to not match up. But for introverts, somehow peace is already made, meaning there's not much mental exhaustion out of inner conflicts, or they don't carry a lot of defenses. First, they can acknowledge what works and what doesn't work for them, and second, their words, actions, and intentions tend to be more of a coherence. So when they see other people live their full life, it won't evoke them that much. But for people with scars, with suppressed needs and wishes, we tend to experience turbulences. For people with childhood trauma, we have a lot of behaviors that we couldn't really make sense of ourselves. And they can be really subtle. It takes years for us to figure out the pattern, or we live in denial that we don't actually notice it and we don't want to admit it. I'm going to tell you a personal story because I bet a lot of you can relate to this. For many years, I believe I am a people person. I like to socialize. I get along with people and everybody likes me based on the facade. Fear of intimacy is never my label. I never believed that I fear intimacy. My therapist often repetitively pointed out that I push people away, but I don't believe that. Until many years later, I find myself never in a long-term relationship, never longer than 3 months, including romantic relationships and friendships. And even I have this one foot in, one foot out attitude with my family. What's funny is that I remember there was one time I invited my friend over, and I was really happy to have her over at the time when I asked. But when I saw her hand her clothes against the wall, when I saw her sit on my chair, I would suddenly feel this repulsive feeling like I wanted to kick her out. I wanted her to just get out of my room and leave my stuff, just don't touch them and never enter my space again. After I dug really deep into my experiences, I noticed that it is a pattern for all of my relationships. If you're interested in vulnerability triggers and social anxiety triggers, I have videos about it. I'm gonna put it up here somewhere. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.